Do you remember the moment you fell in love with boxing?
I think the first moment I fell in love with boxing was probably the first time I got punched, and it wasn't really that big of a deal, and I knew I had much more in the chamber, and so I was like, okay, now it's my turn. I started at a very old age compared to what normal amateur boxers start at. I was mid-20s, and I've always been an athlete growing up, and after college I didn't really have any other sports to participate in, and so I started with a kickboxing class, and I loved it. I'm so competitive, and I moved from kickboxing to boxing, and I just kind of wanted to hit every goal. I wanted to have my first exhibition bout, my first real bout, my first national tournament, and so becoming pro just kind of fell in my lap because I didn't look that far out. I just kind of wanted to conquer every small goal that was right in front of me. It's important to have an amateur career, but it has to be the right amateur career. There's a lot of people that will fight one person 5 times, and I don't feel that you grow as an amateur with that kind of a resume. I only have about 25 amateur fights, but a lot of those are on a national level. I don't think I repeated any, if any, it was very little of the fights that were with the same person. In Chicago, there were only about maybe 5 or 6 girls to fight with, and so I did come across those girls more than once, but that was also a good measuring tool for me because there was girls that I fought when I first got to Chicago, and then years later I ended up knocking them out in 30 seconds, so that's how I knew, okay, we're ready for the next step.
Tell us about the boxing world in Chicago, especially for a woman.
I think my gym, Body Shop Boxing Club, with Rick Ramos as head trainer and manager there, we're the type of people that kind of control what the element is in Chicago, and the way that we run things is we'll bring you in, we'll give you room and board, and if you're somebody that has a good resume and is already taking care of their boxing career and taking it seriously, then we want to have you as part of our camp, and we'll have sparring with you, we'll bring you to all of our training, and we'll see if you can hang, because we do train very hard. We train 2 or 3 times every single day. We have strength and conditioning, we have sparring. So, to come and spend time with us is kind of an additive to any other person that's from out of town. So, we're gonna give you a lot of good things as far as like taking care of you, like I said, room and board, but we're also gonna put you through the grinder. So you just kind of have to be ready for it.
Girls usually, they used to have a lot of problems because they didn't have sparring partners. They used to spar with boys and get bullied by boys. Did that happen to you a lot?
I was just talking about this actually. The first set of sparring partners I had was another female, and she was much smaller than I was, and so I wasn't really getting the same kind of work. And then I had a bunch of guys that I sparred with, and when I had my first fight, the girl just kept coming like a robot, just kept coming for me, and I hadn't felt that pressure. And so after the fight, I went back to the gym and I yelled at all the guys and I said, stop taking it easy on me. I need you to come after me, because when I get in the ring, those girls are gonna come after me. So it's good when you have somebody putting a lot of pressure on you, that might be a little heavier than you, a lot faster than you, because you're only gonna get better from those experiences.
Tell us about your experience on your first professional fight.
My first professional fight, I was very confident. This was my first time fighting at 135 pounds ever. And it's kind of, when you're a fighter, you kind of have 2 fights to fight. You have to fight the weight and make sure that you get there. Once you're done with the scale, then it's like, okay, now I have the real fight. So you kind of have to make sure that you're not, losing focus there. But, making 135 and having a lot different training than I had ever had before because of Rick Ramos, I just felt really confident, and I felt like at the weigh-ins and the face-off, that girl wasn't confident, and I was ready to just like run over her, and that's basically what happened during the fight. It was a knockout, I think, 2nd round. So it really, my confidence came from the training.
How much of a sacrifice is boxing when it comes, especially to the finances, because you don't earn as much money in the beginning?
Yeah, boxing it has to be your whole life. You have to sacrifice everything to get like for instance, where I am and how fast I got there, I gave up a lot of different things. I gave one of my dogs to my mom because I felt like I needed to just really focus on training and have less distractions at home. I had my 9 to 5, and I just really made sure that any and everything else that I was doing was worth the time and effort that I was putting in, because that time could be spent, sleeping or relaxing or doing some kind of recovery. And so if it wasn't worth my time, I had to give it up. And it really made the difference in my career.
And the other thing that I feel personally, because I've been doing this for 12 years, that made a difference in your career is Rick. And I'm telling you because I've had my eye on him forever. But how important is it to have someone to have your back the way that Rick does? Not only as a trainer, but he would go on all social media. He would call out Eddie Hearn. He would call out every promoter, and that's how you got your big fight against Katie Taylor.
Having the right team is everything. People that you can trust, people that are 100% transparent with you. When there's emails and things coming from the promoter, it gets forwarded to me. Like nothing has changed. I get to see exactly what the conversation is. There's nothing that's hidden from me at all. He's very honest. You win this fight, we do this. You lose this fight, we do this. There's a plan for everything. And just to have that preparation and to have that confidence behind you, and just knowing that you're not the only one fighting for your career, it makes a big difference. It helps you sleep at night. He's not really sleeping at night because he's making all those phone calls and those text messages and arguing with people on social media, but he's doing his job and he loves what he does, and he wouldn't do that for somebody that he didn't think was all in. So I have to do my part too. I have to make sure that I keep him confident in the fighter that I am, and then he goes full force because he knows that he's backing something that's a sure shot.
Do you think he would have gotten the fight with Katie Taylor if he wouldn't have been fighting on Twitter?
No, I don't think so. I think the Katie Taylor fight came about because he was started to light some small fires, and they couldn't be ignored. She said that whole lie about I contacted 20 people, and when Rick said you didn't contact me and put his phone number out on Twitter, it was just kind of like, whoa, he shocked the world. And so all the eyes were on him, and they had to respond in some kind of way, and that's where it all started.
So they make the fight happen against, Katie Taylor, who's, they have her as one of the biggest champions. Obviously, you have all the belts.
Right.
But what did you feel the moment that they offered you the fight? And you're like, oh, I'm fighting Katie Taylor.
Well, this is what happened. They offered the fight. We agreed, and then they said, no, wait, and they pulled out. And Rick said, we've been training, so Rick said, don't go crazy and eat like a whole pizza this weekend because they're gonna come back. And sure enough, like that Monday, then they tried to come back and offered us the fight again. So I think they were trying to throw us off. And so we were just kind of like, just ready for the games and ready for like the politics of boxing, and it didn't matter who was in front of me. It doesn't matter whose name they think is big. I'm coming, and I'm coming for the throat. Take it.
Cecilia was gonna make history, or you were gonna make history? Tell us about the lead up to that fight.
My team just really thought she was just kind of, I guess you could say a fake fighter, full of fluff, just kind of old. A lot of the people that she had beaten were old school fighters. She trains in the old school kind of way. She doesn't have real strength and conditioning, and so it's just kind of like, she's just a name, and we can run through her. And so we prepared specifically for that fight. We had been training 3-minute rounds my whole career, and then we decided to switch it up to really focus on what we need to do in the 2 minutes that we have. Start fast, get the shots in. He's counting my punches every time we spar, and he's like, I need you to get the punches up, to the point where even the second time when we fought her, we had worked on coming from the corner to the middle of the ring. And when I saw the playback of the fight, I was like, oh my gosh, it looked like I ran to the middle of the ring, because we just trained to get in there and throw some devastating blows and be done with it. So it wasn't really anything for me except for, okay, this is my time to shine and show everybody what I have.
How did it feel?
It felt great. It wasn't, people say have you always planned to be an undisputed fighter? Is that one of your dreams? And honestly, no, I hadn't really thought past the specific task that was in front of me at the time. And when that task was right there in front of me, I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything that I can. Like I said, I had 2 dogs, and I asked my mom, like, can you take one of my dogs? Because I just really want to make sure I have everything lined up and I'm focused and prepared. I haven't got my dog back. My mom still has her. That's fine. But, it's just the sacrifice is worth it. But you have to be able to know when and what to give up for the things that you want.
How do you feel that women's boxing has evolved, let's say from, I don't know, when Layla Ali and Mia St. John were fighting to now?
It was hot back then, and then that era of fighters, kind of got out of the game, retired, whatnot, and then there was a big lull. And I think a lot of those fighters that were, coming up at that point, they were still in amateurs, they were waiting for the Olympics. The Olympics came about, not that long ago, and so there was like a different road that people could choose from. And eventually some of those people stopped waiting for the Olympics or, wanted to go on the path to pro. And so now we have a lot bigger, pool of women to choose from. It's not that big, but it needs to keep growing. And that's why fights like tonight are so important, where you have these amateur fighters coming out and you have pro fighters coming out saying, hey, keep going, look what you can do, and being the example. So I think it's very important for us to be the example so that it keeps growing and it keeps getting bigger.
How important is for fighters to promote their own fights, so they can grow as a fighter outside of the ring too?
It's very important. I mean, we have social media as a tool now. There's so many social media outlets, and everybody needs to have, pictures, videos, training sessions out there on social media so people know who they are. Just look at Ryan Garcia. He has so many followers, and so now him promoting his fight, just making one post, there's so many people that know about it. So you have to get out there. When I first got on Instagram, I didn't have any followers. Now I have over 20,000 followers, and that's from, talking to people, connecting with people, showing up to events, making sure people see my face, taking pictures with the fans. And so the more you grow your social media and grow your presence, the more you're able to really promote yourself. Because anybody can post something, but if you don't get any likes or any views, it doesn't really matter.
And do you feel more of a responsibility with your community now as a champion?
I've always felt the responsibility to my community. That's always been there, but I feel like I can do more now. Even if it's straight out of my pocket. Like, I buy books for my old grade school. Every kid in the school gets a brand new book every month for the whole school year. And social media is helping with that, because now I can say, hey, if you guys are willing to help me, I'll match anything that you guys donate. And so we're going on year 2 of donating books. And, I think, things like that, or food pantries, or going to talk to kids. I just think I have more of a platform to do it, and I have more time and more funds to just fly myself to different places and to show up and to do those things. So the responsibility has always been there, but now I'm able to do more with the platform that I have.
What would Jessica McCaskill now, what advice would she give little Jessica?
Just hold on. I would tell myself, like, all this is going to be over soon, and you're going to be very happy with the way things turn out, but it's still important to go through the things that you have to go through, because the person that it makes you is going to be very, very important for the world, not just for myself, but to show other people that they can make it through those things, or that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
So tell us, what's next for you?
We are talking about having another fight. Hopefully it's early June. We haven't gotten any confirmation on it yet. I'm always ready to get in the ring. We train whether we have a fight coming up or not, because things can pop up. So, once we have an official name and date and what we're fighting for, we will put it out. Make sure you stay tuned to Rick Ramos Boxing, Jessica McCaskill on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So as soon as we know something, we will put it out there.
So if you could please send a message to all the amateurs that will be competing at the Greenbelt Challenge.
This is your opportunity. This is your chance. You got to stay focused. Start now. if you haven't started already, you might be late. There's people that are already focused and aiming for that green belt, but this is your opportunity to get your own green belt, and then you keep fighting, you turn pro, and then you get another green belt, and you be like, man, I remember when I won this amateur green belt, now I have a pro green belt. That's just, you have to focus on those goals and go get it, because it's yours. You just have to go get it.
What does WBC and the green and gold belt mean to you?
You could probably ask any of those kids out there, like, what belt do you want? And they'll say the green one, because that's like in your head as a fighter. You know, I don't care what age you start at, you think, I got to get to that green belt. So having the green, I got two. I got one at 140, and I got one at 147. I might get another one at 154, and, you know, I get another one at 140 again. I mean, you know, it's like the mecca of belts. And so, you know, to have it was the weirdest thing, because that was the first belt I got. Usually you feel like you have to work your way up to it. So the only thing I got to do now is just get more of them.